Alright, Jak 2 is an action platformer, third-person shooter racing game open-world adventure, part of the Jak and Daxter series. This game is widely regarded as definitely the hardest one in the series, and today I'm going to attempt to finish it without dying in one sitting. So I want to start by introducing some rules to this challenge. The Jak series, considering its age, is no stranger to glitches, skips, out of bounds routes, movement tricks discovered by the hard work of speedrunners and their communities. For this challenge, I will be avoiding most of these. I will be playing a new game and engaging with missions and enemies using the tools provided at that point in the game, using my subjective interpretation as to what was intended by the developer. And just to make it harder for myself because I may or may not be masochistic, I will also be including mission failures as death. For example, there are missions that have external fail conditions beyond dying. In order to avoid me abusing this mechanic to refund health or ammo, I will be counting mission failures as a death. There are certain problematic missions in the game that I will be discussing in detail as I reach them. With that context out of the way, let's get into today's attempts at completing Jak 2 without dying.
For every age, there...
Rushing headfirst into the challenge, I would soon realize my hubris would get the best of me. The first attempt did not last too long, however, let's see what I learned from in-game. First thing first is to skip some of these cutscenes and go for a prison escape. After a few jumps and kicks later, you run into the first enemy. I blast them quickly and move on to the level. It's nearly impossible to die here unless you make some very crucial mistakes on the platforming and fighting, but after a few short minutes, we're out of the prison and onto the streets of Haven City. Here, some guards ambush Core, Jak, and the Kid, in which Jak fights them off without a hitch after transforming into Dark Jak. Afterwards, they allow him to freely explore this part of the city. I make it to Torn and Tess, in which I skip the cutscene and they award me with my first underground mission, stealing the flag from the top of the ruins in Deadtown. I quickly cleaned some clocks of the wild animals hanging out there, made my way up the crumbling platforms and got our flag with no problem. Going back to Torn, it's time to turn the water back on in the slums. I make my way to the pumping station where I beat up the first instance of metalheads. I got nipped by a frog, healed that wound, and then finally turned the water back on. Then I skipped the first chat with the precursors and moved back to Torn where he gives us our first moderately problematic mission. The tough part about destroying this armory is how inconsistent the tank is with shooting. Sometimes it'll only shoot one round, other times it'll shoot 3 or 4 bursts. I believe there's a pattern to it, but at the time of writing I haven't had enough practice to figure it out. However, this time, after a lucky roll, I cleared the beginning after only taking a few hits. Next, I opened the electric field after platforming and healing. I cleared some obstacles and bashed some guards in the next couple rooms and made my way to the last area where another tank finishes it off. Our next mission is delivering cargo to crew. Normally I don't consider this mission problematic, but I guess there are exceptions to every rule. I walked into this mission extremely confident, and this is what I walked out with. That is correct, the first run. Rest in peace 2021 to 2021, he died so young. However, from this moment forward, I took a breather, steeled myself, and hit new game again. With myself now having been humbled, I knew exactly how hard this challenge is going to be. With my new view on the world, I again broke out of prison, I cleared the streets of some police action, got assigned the flag mission from Deadtown again, but here at this point I was getting just a little bit hungry. So as I'm punching wild animals and climbing broken ledges and walls, I think, I can take a break, let me get some pizza. And at this crucial moment, I was so sure I would come back and be rejuvenated from food, and I would continue the run flawlessly. Let's see how it went. So I want you to keep this moment in mind when I was able to backflip backwards, for the future. Now, I'm as shocked as you. Moon, how could you ever call yourself anything but terrible after choking that uppercut jump so hard? Of course, I would be inclined to agree with you, but remember, life is all about getting knocked down, or in this case, falling off of a multi-story building to your virtual death, getting back up and trying again. And try again is what I did. Alright, next attempt, I escaped the prison once more, beating up guards and jumping and diving and punching. This time after clearing the streets, I suffered a bit more damage than I wanted, being shocked once during a punch and another time right after the Dark Jack transformation. However, I cleared the rest easily. This time I ran through Dead Town without falling off as soon as possible. I punched more wild animals, I claimed the flag, and I got back to Torn. Next I cleared the pumping station and got the water back on quickly. Skipped the Oracle, did Armory after only taking one hit of damage from the sentry turret, and finally got back to the hurdle on the first run. This time I was a bit more careful while driving, though I did straight up drive into a pole. While I did get shot a few more times, I was unfazed as I rolled up to cruise Hip Hog safely. I get the first gun in the game and run through its training course, and I take it on my first mission from Crew. He hires Sig and Jack to clear out some metalheads at the pumping station and collect them as trophies. For the most part, this mission is pretty unproblematic, but if you're not too aggressive on the metalheads with the red electric guns, it can be very easy for Sig or you to go down, thus failing the mission. But overall, we took down the first 4 baddies. And I used Dark Jack to clear the area while Sig fixed his gun in the last area, and then we took on the final metalhead. With all those skulls, I used them to gain Dark Bomb from the Oracles, which could be useful in keeping me alive later. Then I moved on to another crew mission, which is our first trip down into the sewers to destroy some sentry guns that are blocking the free trade for smugglers. I took them out pretty easily. Then I head back to Crew and he rewards me with a second gun to use for later. I cleared the gun course for it and Crew tells me about a mechanic that needs racers for her team, and I speed over to the stadium in less than 3 minutes for another completion. Kira then awards me with a jetboard training course and I clear it easily. Fly back to Torn because he's the next closest mission, which is to run to a strip mine where an ally named Vin is hiding out. Blasted a bunch of metalheads and saved Vin. On the way back, Vin awarded me with another mission back through the portal. This mission is just a tiny bit problematic, however, if you play slow enough, it's nearly impossible to fall into any of the traps in this one. Shot up all the metalhead eggs. And then next up, I ran back to Crew and started a mission where you collect 14 money bags while being chased by the cops. It's not so hard, but I cleared it pretty easily and traded the bags for an upgrade in fire rate to the scatter gun. The next mission is to go to the pumping station on behalf of the Underground and save Ashlyn, who's the insider spy for the Crimson Guard. Kind of a hard mission because enemies can swarm you at the end, but played smart and careful and used some Dark Jack, I was able to clear out the mission easily. But at this point my hands were getting a little clammy. I was getting a bit dehydrated and hungry and it was time for another break. Upon my return a few minutes later, looking to finish up and continue my very successful run, I made a crucial mistake and miscalculated the roll distance and fell to my doom once more. Sag. Alright, just real quick, here's one more attempt, the second to the final one. I died very quickly in the armory run, 15 minutes into the run. Here is that.
Unauthorized use of Fortress Door. Activating security tank.
And next up, we'll be talking about my final and best attempt this week. The run was 3.5 hours long, and you've seen quite a few of the missions already, so I'm just going to skip to where the last long run ended. This time I was very careful about how I took my jump when I returned back to Haven City from saving Ashland. Next up is another Vin mission. This time we have to destroy sentry turrets and activate the buttons underneath. It shouldn't be too hard if I manage my ship play correctly, which is exactly what I did. At this point, I've unlocked the first Baron fight, but I wanted to clear out everything else first and gain the most percentage before I take that on. So I go to Onin's first cutscene and do the mission to collect the 3 artifacts. There's a few problematic spots here. I've died in previous playthroughs. I collected the artifacts in descending order of ease, in my opinion. In this route, I collected a ton of metalhead skulls, did some platforming, and got to the hardest part of the section, which is not falling off the puzzle boxes. If at any point I mess up the puzzle and have to come back here and reset while catwalking along the path above the eco. However, I'm the YouTuber and therefore I'm the smart one, and I completed the puzzle without having to reset. I fought a metalhead rhino at the end and got the first artifact. Now onto the moderately hard path. The first thing they want you to do is take down a rhino after jumping off some timed platforms. Now this is probably one of the many pain-inducing parts of Jak 2, and probably requires a trigger warning. But here is a cliffside with boulders rolling down it. It's very easy to die here. Let's see how I do. Easy. I got the second part of the set and onto the final section. I only consider this part the hardest because it combines platforming with the rhinos with the shield guys, and any of these things can take me out very easily if I don't play it right. But I ended up doing it very well, got the final artifact, and made my way back into the city. I took all the metalhead skulls to the precursor statue in exchange for Dark Blast, the second Dark Jak power. All that was left at this point was to climb up to the palace and boss fight with the Baron. Nearly 2 hours into the run, I'm getting pretty nervous. You can see in the way I start platforming. I cheesed the first turret and then kept making my way across the palace's support cable, quick scoped the second turret before it could shoot, and went underneath for more platforms. I nearly almost killed myself because I was nervous about clearing the electricity and spin kicked too early. But Jak caught the ledge as I caught my composure. Only a little more now before the fight, and just a couple of jumps and orbiting turret, and then we have it. Very easy. At this point, I was confident in my abilities, and having taken on the Baron so many times in the past, I was ready. My dodges were pristine, my shots were dialed in, my hops were clean, and I was looking very good as I cleaned his clock without a single point of damage. Next was to head back to Torn and save some allies to the underground. Since we caused so much noise at the palace, the KG were on the hunt. Here it's not so easy to die myself, but what can happen is the allies dying or exploding in a ship and they die and subsequently fail the mission. For the most part, I was able to clean out the guards and keep my boys safe. There was a moment where I thought it was over when I got caught in the open after taking a gamble with my weak ship. It exploded and my ally went flying. Luckily, we were aight, and we grabbed another ship and sped off. Afterwards, Torn called me back to the hideout for another mission in which we had to clean up Dead Town from metalheads plotting in the area. Mostly a very simple mission, though it is easy to get overrun and take a lot of damage quickly. The beginning was very easy. I shot metalheads and darkjacked my way through an ambush zone. But the problematic enemies are these metalheads with blasters that track pretty well, but they also remain pretty stationary, so the name of the game is to play cover and approach before bullets reach you. I decided to do the exact opposite and try to cheese it from a stationary spot, and it costed me 2 hits, leaving me with half health. My next play for these guys was to peek out and flick my stick to them ASAP and get to them before they get me, in which it worked out twice in a row. I got hit with some cheese, and I'll slow that down for you. Apparently my scattergun totally missed here, and then despite me being on the retreat, I got hit with the late hitbox on its attack. I was very upset. But after that, there was only 2 enemies left, which I clapped very fast and headed back to the city. Here, Jack finally gets to meet the Shadow, and his first mission is for us to kill metalhead scouts in the forest, where upon completion we get to keep the jetboard. Also, it's literally impossible to fail this mission, so I'll just cut through it. My next options for missions are to either clear out spying devices placed out of the KG Harbor. This one is also pretty impossible to fail, so I did it first and I cleared it easily, cut through it. Crew popped up with another mission which I took him up on and got increased ammo capacity as well. This mission is pretty dang easy, just have to save a few lurkers from the slave trade while fighting guards. Nothing crazy. Next, I took a mission from Ashland to beat up a bunch of metalheads getting a little too bold with infiltrating the city. Her and I cleaned them up pretty fast and I moved on to the next Torn mission. This time, I have to protect the kid from the beginning of the game from a bunch of guards trying to throw him in prison off the Baron's orders. This mission ain't hard at all. As long as I keep my eyes on the radar and keep moving near the kid and blasting the scattergun in the right directions, it's not hard. Next up was a core mission, where I go to the drill platform and clear out the eco facility. This mission can be extremely problematic if you don't clear the guards first. And there's also lava that one hit kills you if you fuck up the jetboard guy. This time I shot all the guards, grinded all the rails with ultimate focus, easy. After that, Vin was the closest one to me. Here is another kind of problematic mission where, using the jetboard, you have to destroy 6 eco wells. The first 4 are extremely easy, but the last 2 require some awkward pathing and skill jumps that if you don't time it correctly, mean instant death by fall. As nervous as I was, I got through it pretty fast. Afterwards, I was sent right back through the portal to destroy an ego ship sent by Praxis. This is regarded as one of the hardest levels in the game, and I cleared it with barely a scratch. Now I returned to Haven City and crew started talking about this crazy sewer thing again. I have no idea what he's talking about, but regardless, I made my way down there. I used the jet board and drained all the water underneath, which opened up the Statue of Mar. It's a very easy mission. I don't know who would ever die here. This time Onan informed us about something I skipped, and then at this point I'm hooked with 5 missions. Some of which are more problematic than others, but all have insane mechanics that can kill you very easily. First up, I decided to do the dig. It's mostly a platforming part with combat in between. There's still instant kill lava, which you can slip into, but for the most part, as long as you keep your reflexes tight, you should be fine. Also, I was kind of held back in this mission because I entered with low health. Next up, I decided the more annoying one to deal with here would be the Class 3 race, since if you don't get a 6 start, then you straight up are fighting for first the whole time, and it's too likely to fail. I didn't get a good start at all, but I got stuffed on the shortcut and I had to do a totally normal lap before I snuck ahead for the last 4. Next up, Torn was the closest mission, so I took him on. This one I have to destroy 5 Hellcat cruisers, and this is one of the few missions where the guard alarm can be gained and lost during the mission. I used this to my advantage. I destroyed the first, second, and third cruiser with the alarm active. I then took the time to lose the alarm and get a new ship, in which I eliminated 4 and 5 quickly. The next mission came from Sig and crew, where I had to kill 30 combat metalheads in the forest that can camo themselves. It was not hard at all. These boys can't aim, and it's near impossible to die here. Have a supercut. Now it's time for the big boy, the cream of the crop, the top dog. Retrieve Seal of Mar from the water slumps. Everyone knows about this one. If you play Jak 2, you hate this mission. An onslaught of guards coming from all sides try to ambush you, and you don't even get the cool ambush music. My original strategy was to straight up punch my way to the end, but I got nervous and took a wrong turn at Albuquerque. I went the wrong way that stuck the timer on the first drop chip, in which I got shot the first time. My nerves really started spiking here, but I was now on the right track, but after an unlucky roll, I bounced off a guard's head, took damage from him, and for some reason I clipped into him, and when my brief invincibility ran out, I took damage again. At this point, I was sure I was dead. I'm basically at the beginning. There's not a single shot I make it. At this point, I'm panicking. Here you can see I try to mash Dark Jak to survive, and since you take half damage in Dark Jak, that allows me to tank an extra hit. But I follow up with a mash punch to knock away a nearby guard. This time Dark Jak does pop off, and I lunge punch, and after a quick peek at the radar, I see them piling up in the back. And I can't choose to shoot these guys, so here I think my best option is to get out of range of the nearby dropship and throw out a Dark Blast to reset the spawns, and that keeps me alive for now. Instantly on landing, I start spamming punch. At this point, fight or flight is kicked in. I no longer have Dark Jak damage resist to fall back on. Then I think now I just have to do it how I would do it as a kid. Spam blaster kick and wasteland to move. But I see a bunch of blaster shots getting close to me for standing still for too long. I realize I just have to push here and break the lines of sight. Punch and punch again to break out of a dropship range, and I got lucky not to get shot right here or even take damage from proximity. I let loose 2 blaster shots to clear ahead of me and keep shooting to clear ahead as another shot grazes me. I panic and spam blaster to try and protect me, but I'm pretty sure I didn't even hit the guy as another shot does a near miss again. I wastelanded through 3 guards and mashed punch over and over, and it got me stuck. At this point my heart sinks and I think this run is over without a doubt. There's no way I live here. I last ditch spin kick and it unsticks me and I squeeze away. I punch past the remaining dropships, wasting away any guards in the way. I spam some rolls. I do the final stretch and get past the goalpost. I know I'm not out of the woods yet, the alarm still rings here. So I book it to the nearest ship and blocks my immediate damage. Unluckily, I got the skinny ship, but also luckily it's the fastest one. I use a trick to go outside Haven City to end the alarm and keep me as safe as possible. My next mission is with Onan, so if I just get there as fast and safe as possible, while still being 1 hit away from death. Once I get to Onan, here's just a matching game. It's so easy. Have a speedrun. And now I go back to the Precursor Ruins and reveal the Tomb of Mar. The teleport allows me to heal, and I make my way down to the tomb. Only time I've ever been nervous about a jetboard grind. So now inside the tomb, I decide I'm going to get the platforming section out of the way first. It's the most inconsistent and very likely to insta-kill. And I was correct. I cleaned up some spiders and took my time on the spiked plat jumps. I got lucky on some more platforming after being nervous, and now my bane and my pain. Double moving flip poles. Here I thought I had shot myself too high and too short, so I spin kick to glide slightly. It helps, but unfortunately it turns me in the wrong direction, purely off of RNG. Now remember the time in the beginning where I flipped backwards in the same scenario in a different attempt? Yeah, here it is again. First of all, it bugs the fuck out and Jack stands in place and recatches the pole. But instead of doing the smart thing, going back and retrying the whole jump again, I really wanted that bold backflip. In a desperate attempt to save the run, I spin kick off reflexes. The 5 stages of grief appear here. So, denial. I land on the Goblet of Fire thinking I was saved, but I turn, and in my anger I realize I have no way out. So I begin marketing. I jump to no avail. I pause thinking that if I just quit and reload the save, I'll be totally fine, right? Like I never fell. So I unpause to see my other options first, and I instantly fall in the dark eco. Now here's depression. I'm so distraught by the last 3.5 hours going down the drain, I can't even pause the game. I just stand there. I end the recording, and that's how I accepted my fate. But I'll be back, and I'll be better. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. I've got more Zero Death content on the way, and editing is a pain in the ass, so it's nice to know when things go appreciated. Also, don't be shy and check out my links in the description. I want to be able to stream games like Jak 2 to an audience so we can all enjoy the pain together. So it'd be nice if you check out my Twitch. Otherwise, see you next time on Jak 2 No Death Runs. Later.